Well, hello, my friends. I'm so excited to be talking with Lena Stover. She is the executive director of the Heartland Workers Center. Lena, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Andy.
And okay, I must admit, I'm not familiar with this organization. And as I was like looking around on the website and really kind of getting a grip of what you do, what an amazing organization. But I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about the mission, who you serve, and kind of the bigger picture.
Absolutely. So we were founded with the idea of protecting workers' rights in the immigrant community. That's the back history. Our mission is to develop and organize leaders, promote workers' rights, and foster a culture of civic engagement in order to build power and create change in immigrant communities and marginalized communities.
Okay. And talk to me a little bit. So I know what marginalized communities, what does that mean?
Sure. So it's historically underrepresented communities. So tends to be people of color, women could be in that. It just kind of depends on what specific area we are talking about. And we look at history and we say who wasn't represented. And that's what marginalized communities are going to end up with.
Okay. Okay, great. So one of the things that I really want to talk to you about today, because we've got the elections coming up. And tell me about the purpose of it's like, I vote for my family initiative. What is that all about?
Sure. So we have 3 pillars within our mission. And I'm going to concentrate on civic engagement here in a second, because I vote for my family is part of our civic engagement pillar. We also work with workers' rights and we do leadership development. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, on civic engagement, we really want people to understand, and immigrant marginalized communities especially, that their vote is very powerful. And we want them to be active in their communities, and we want them to see the change that they want for their communities. And one easy way to do that is through the vote, right? And the idea of I vote for my family, I can tell you that right now in my household, I have my 2 little children, right? They're not eligible to vote because they're not over 18. They were born in the States, so they were citizens, etc. But I'm voting for their future as well, right? So my vote, I'm the only one that is going to go and select the leaders. It's really going to count for everyone else in my family. Like that, there are many families out there that are perhaps voting for cousins, uncles, siblings, and all kinds of things. So it's really about the power of one vote and how that one vote represents people that are not eligible to vote as well.
Yeah. I have to tell you, Lena, you're talking to me and saying that in a completely different way that I've never looked at it before. Because, we go out and vote, we do this, but you really are voting for, like you say, your family. And it's such a much bigger picture than.
That's right. It's a big responsibility. And what a joy to be able to say, I'm the one that is going to do it. And maybe perhaps have conversations with your family and what are they into, what are they not into, doing some research about what are the changes that you want in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this too, just for the viewers from this show. Registering to vote is so important. It is important. And you might have just said this, but I'm just going to ask you again. Why is it important to vote? What does that mean? Big picture wise, you can look at how it's like here, but there is just, when you look down to the future, it's an important thing. And we
absolutely, and I think
look that far. So,
and I think these elections, the midterm elections, are even more significant than other elections, especially here in Nebraska. There's a couple points that I'll make here. One, the legislature that we have here in Nebraska, the unicameral, we're about to send a whole new cohort of representatives. Those representatives really are voicing our opinions. They're representatives of about 40,000 people areas. We're divided in districts, and each representative is supposed to represent our interests.
Right.
So knowing that I have someone in Lincoln, Nebraska, that is representing the area where I live, then I want to make sure that whoever is elected in that office is really represented what I think and what I want. And this is, of course, big policies, things that are going to be changing here, that are going to be on the ballot this year: minimum wage, maybe some, in the past, we've talked about licenses and who can get licenses, who cannot get licenses, access to Medicare, all kinds of very important things. So that's in Lincoln, important. Also very important is what is happening at the local level, right? The Board of Education, for all the different school districts that are around this area. We are electing the officials that are going to be making big decisions on behalf of the children that we're educating. So if we have strong ideas about how education should happen, or even strong ideas about how our children, what they could learn while they are in school, I think it's imperative that we start by voicing our opinion with the vote. It doesn't end there, right? Our participation doesn't end in just voting and electing and moving away. But the truth is that knowing who's the spokesperson on our behalf, that's the first step. And having a say of who's my spokesperson. I honestly think about, we probably voted for homecoming king and queen back in the days, or maybe closer in the days, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that was important, right? We wanted to see who was out there and they represented something. Well, multiply that times 1,000, because the reality is that these elected officials do have the power to make big differences in everything that we're doing for our children locally. And, this is true for our schools, it's true for our power districts, it's true for our libraries, it's true for the sheriff here, for example, in Omaha. There's all kinds of representatives that we're electing right now. So it's not just one vote, it's a number of people that we're electing.
So I want to ask you, Lena, too, as executive director of the Heartland Workers Center, there are a few other things. This is a nonprofit organization, and when you look at it as a whole, what is your purpose? I know this is one initiative, but tell us, what is the bigger purpose, and how can the community support you?
Oh, thank you so much. So there is I think that advocating for immigrant and underrepresented communities is really the big, large purpose.
Yeah.
In this area of civic engagement, one of the things that we do to ensure that our communities are not only registered to vote, that are able to show up to vote, that they're not turned away for whatever reason, right? I come in with an accent and there shouldn't be anybody turning me away, but these things could happen. So knowing my rights when I am going to cast my vote is also an important piece here, but also understanding what am I voting for? Who am I voting for? And we partner, for example, with other organizations, the League of Women Voters, and we have created a guide for these elections, and everyone can go out there, and if you can find the Reader or El Perico, wherever you find those two, you can pick up this guide. And it's both in English and in Spanish, and it's going to give you every single candidate and their ideas. So if you want the cheat sheet on how to vote and who to vote for, this is a great place to look at what are their ideas, and then you can then match your ideas with their ideas and find the right elected person. And I tell you that tangible outcome because, of course, as you can imagine, translating this document is a lot of work. And that is one of the things that we did here because we know how important the information is. Printing this is also costly. And we're putting money to print this.
Yes.
So there is just a lot of financial contributions that we're doing that are way behind the scenes, right? When you pick up this, you don't think about what all went into it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Many
for sure.
hours.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how can people support us? Honestly, financially is clearly a way, and you can go to our website.
I'm looking at your website right here. So yeah.
Yes, heartlandworkerscenter.org, and you can find a place there. But I also think that there is power in our intentionality with our words. And I love the question that you asked me at the very beginning. You said, marginalized communities, what is that? That is a brave question, right? That is a smart question as well, because it's not assuming that we all know what we're talking about. So I think being willing to be vulnerable with our questions and to learn a different perspective, that is probably a big way in which the community can support the immigrant and marginalized communities here in Nebraska.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. Asking questions, I think, is the way to a greater future, regardless of what they are. Because if you're not asking questions, you're just assuming that you know what you know, and questions
Absolutely.
open. Yeah.
And, I'm going to, since we're talking about the elections and things, the debate season is about to start. I know there is a couple of debates tomorrow. We are actually hosting one on the 17th of October at the CEC at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. And I believe that this airs after it, so it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I think so.
That's totally okay. It'll be fantastic. But participating in those debates is another great way to find out not only what they think, but it's a great way to let our future elected officials know what we think.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's a matter of showing up and saying, you know what, these are my thoughts on critical race theory. These are my thoughts on immigration. These are my thoughts on workforce development in Nebraska. And as you can tell, I'm not telling you what to think.
Yeah.
We're nonpartisan.
Yeah.
And that's important to us, that we remain nonpartisan, but we are engaged in the conversation, that we listen to one another.
Absolutely. Lena, thank you so much. I mean, our time is up, but what an incredible, actually brilliant conversation that we had today. I so appreciate it. And everyone, encourage you, heartlandworkerscenter.org. So much information on that website. And again, Lena, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. And remember, everyone, that we're voting for our families. So let's register to vote and let's go and cast our votes.
Yes.
Thank you.